Hey guys, Sam here from Chalice and Chains. And I wanted to do a video response, I guess, in a sense, to the video that Red Dice Diaries and Legacy Game Master posted. Starting with Legacy's video regarding you are not entitled to a GM, and then Red Dice Diaries, RPG bugbears. And I kind of wanted to sort of expound on that and maybe title this video something like, you're not entitled to a GM, so do it yourself. And so I know that Legacy has been having some issues lately with, inconsistent and frankly, fairly rude activities by players, whether it's just not showing up to a game, not responding, whatever. And I know that John from Red Dice Diaries has seen this too in the past where, when you try to run a game for random people, you don't know, first of all, who you're going to get as a player. And second of all, if you then have that player start making a bunch of demands and or you don't hear from them, they don't give you the courtesy of saying, sorry, I can't make it, whatever, that as a GM, that can be very discouraging. And so I guess, and I don't know if there was a specific post that prompted this or not, but in the online Facebook communities, G+ communities for gaming that we're all a part of, the Tabletop RPG One-Shot Group, the RPG Brigade, Absolute Tabletop, the various communities where you have people talking about games. I haven't seen it lately, but one of the things that used to annoy us quite a bit, those of us that run games, was when somebody would post something like, I'm looking for a game of D&D 5th edition, but I can only play on this day at this time, and I also have another friend who wants to do this, and we have to play these types of characters, and blah, 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 can somebody run a game for me? Right? That in and of itself is fine, but what would sometimes happen is when people would respond with, why don't you run the game yourself, or whatever, no, you can't. And then that person then goes and posts later, what is this group for? Nobody's running games, blah, blah, blah. Frankly, that would upset us, those that do run games. And there's also been some criticisms, especially within the One-Shot group. I don't know if as of late, but certainly there used to be where there were cliques that had formed, right? And that people would only play with the same people. And to an extent that was true. That is still true. And that's true because there are game masters out there who want to run games. There are players out there who want to play games. And they've found that they are consistent, right? That there are certain players out there that if you say, hey, I want to run this game at this time, and they say, yeah, man, I'm interested, they'll show up, right? And if there are the same players getting into multiple games, it means that they bring a certain quality of play to that game that the game master enjoys, and that helps enhance the game for everyone else, right? So understand that, right? Understand that is something that game masters are looking for. Now, the sort of overarching theme here to this whole thing is that there are not enough game masters for the amount of players that are in these groups, right? And that's always the case with role-playing. Now, the cool thing is we have these online tools, right, where we can find game masters from all over the world playing all kinds of different systems. But it still exists. There are still way more people that want to play than there are people willing to run, or people that are able to run what you want at the time that you want it, right? I love running games. I would run games all the time if I could, but I have such a limited schedule that unfortunately I can't do that, and the reason that I run games is because frequently I can't find other people to run the games that I want to play. So my response to that had been to run them. Now, there are various excuses why people say they don't want to run games. And I would highly recommend, and I'm going to try to link it to the video, to the description below if I can find it, is watching SR2 Joker's 8 Myths About Game Mastering. because it's very, very helpful. I think anyway, in terms of kind of getting over some of those hurdles to game mastering. But I think one of the biggest things that stops people from running games is they say they don't know the rules. Well, there's a couple of things that I would recommend in that case. If you know that you like a certain system, like D&D 5th edition, for example, there's a few things that I guarantee you will work to help you feel more confident running a game. One is download the free rules. If you don't have the time or the money to purchase the 3 core books and really run through them, get the free rules that are available online and read through those, okay? That will give you everything you need to run a game, okay? Secondly, watch actual plays of the system that you enjoy being played, because it will show you how games work. And watch different GMs run different games, right? Because some of them will have very different styles, and some of them will be very much about the rules, and they will explain, okay, this rule does this, that, and the other. And there will be others that are like, I don't care, this is cool, this is the story, let's go with it, whatever, right? So you can learn a lot through doing that. And then third is post in these forums. When you're reading through the questions, you say, hey, I don't know what this means, right? Post it in one of the gaming groups, and you will get lots of people that will help you understand how to do it. But the biggest thing is you just got to take a chance, because at the end of the day, people are much, much, much more willing to be forgiving of you if you say, hey, look, I'm a new GM. I really want to try out this system. I don't know it so well, but I'm looking to game with some people who's down for a game. If people come into that game and you've said that, and you don't know all the rules, you have to make a lot of things up, you don't think it went well, chances are people had fun, right? Regardless of how bad you think it went. And two, people understand you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. So, and then I would also recommend that you consider running some systems that are very easy to run. Now, one of my personal favorites is the Cypher system by Monte Cook Games, particularly Numenera. But that's a system that is extremely easy to run. Now, the initial buy-in is a little bit high because the core books are expensive. Well, there's one core book, and it's expensive. So it depends. If you buy Numenera, or you just buy the Cypher system core rule book, or the Strange, those are going to run you retail about $50 to $60. But they run on a D20 mechanic, so if you've been playing, you'll already have the dice. There's online dice rollers. It's easy. That's a very simple system to learn, a very simple system to play. And there's great content there to help you. Now, the other thing I see that stops people from game mastering sometimes is saying, well, I don't know how to create an adventure. Well, that's why they wrote modules, right? If you like Star Wars, pick up the beginner box game for one of the, 3 lines of Fantasy Flight games, Star Wars, Age of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, or Force and Destiny. Run those. Those are immaculately crafted and do a phenomenal job of teaching the system while also having a fun adventure, right? Most, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, same thing, has a beginner box. And that thing's got a mini campaign. You could play, I think you can go up to like 5th level with that thing. So you have lots of adventure to play there. There are tons of free resources, free adventures for things like Numenera, for example. There are lots of free adventures out there for some of the old school revival retro clones like Swords and Wizardry, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, stuff like that. So there's lots and lots and lots of content out there. There's also plenty of videos online about how to craft adventures that will be fun for your players. So I think when it comes down to, when we see things like this where somebody says, I want somebody to run a game, and they give all these conditions, And then the first response usually that you're going to get is, well, why don't you run it yourself? Fear is the number one reason. And I think number two is laziness. People just don't want to do it, right? They know that it takes a lot of time, or they think it takes a lot of time. In all honesty, it does not. It doesn't take a lot of time to prep an adventure. It can, and it depends on what you want to put into it, but it really doesn't. So to prevent further videos like this, run a game. Next time you want to play, go ahead and put it out there, right? Hey, I want to play it this time. But if you don't get somebody to say, sure, no problem, then say, okay, I want to play a game at this time. I've got a few concerns, a few questions. Can somebody help me? And you will get that. So anyway, I hope that is helpful advice for you. I hope that works. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to talk to people about running games and all that. So, leave a response to this video or on the various social media platforms where I'll post this, and I hope to hear from you soon. Happy gaming.